All right. So, are you ready, Bill?
Yeah. Drop it.
All right, here we go.
I gotta stand up. Okay, there it is. Okay. Alright, here we go. We're on Talking Hell on Wheels. Like this. Billy Botox, a.k.a. Hecker. End of my rope, making a neck hurt. Came with a cane, aiming westward. Mess with the deputy, gain a red shirt. I'm on the radio, my man Kente. And the homie Yardley, yo, we talk this way. We talking Hell on Wheels over coffee and a meal. 1800 swag, carpet bag appeal. Check this show, it's on AMC. Every Saturday, yeah, the last day of the week. Calling out Carmen, amaze at me. Come on this podcast, yo, and blaze this beat.
Previously on AMC's Hell on Wheels.
The railroad comes first. That's all we got, you and me. I have a wife.
Our schemes have left us with no friends. You need Mickey.
I was hoping for more of a fight from you. Starting a race behind a granite wall is not going to make for a very exciting finish.
I would be within reason to fire you.
Not if you aim to win this race.
Get us through that tunnel quick.
I thought you'd now come back.
Indie Radio presents Talking Hell on Wheels, the show that takes a look at AMC's hit Western series. Join us every Saturday and Tuesday night as we take you on a journey as your favourite show comes to an end. And now, here are your hosts, Yardley and Kente.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Talking Hell on Wheels. I am one of your hosts, Kente, all the way from Los Angeles, California. I'm here with my main man and my co-host, the one and only Yardley. How you doing? Uh-oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that, gentlemen. I'm doing good, man. It's getting further along down the stretch, man. So every episode we do, we're getting closer to the end. That sucks, but it's always great to be on talking to you. And tonight we're going to be talking to Max, and we got to have fun, man.
Yes, we do. We do. Of course, you can participate. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can go to our website. That's indyradio.org. That's INDY radio.org. Or you can call in. The number is 323-522-4601. Once again, somebody's trying to call in right now. 323-522-4601. And also you can go to blab.im and you can see us live on video there as well. So, with that said, hold on one second. Hello?
Hello?
Hi. Yes, we're not taking call-ins just yet.
I thought at 11.
No, about 15 minutes after.
Oh, so 11:15?
Yes. All right now.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that, everybody. So the intro, I don't know if you guys remember this. I think, what was it, last season? We had actor Billy Wickman came on, who goes by the rap name Billy Botox. And he did an impromptu freestyle on the show. So I decided, we're only going to be able to use that, not much more. So I said, I will throw it in on this episode. So shout out to Billy Wickman, who we had no idea that was going to get killed off the next episode. So, but it was cool to have him with us. And he did that for us. So, all right. With that said, let's get to our guest. He's making his triumphant return back to the show. This time we can see him on video. It's the one and only Max Hurwitz. How you doing, Max?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It's a beautiful day in Los Angeles, as you know. And,
I do, yes.
yeah, and we're so happy that you're here with us, and we get to chop it up about not only this episode tonight, which was yet again another good one, but also the final episodes, the final season, as well as what you're doing going forward. So we're going to cover all of that in this show tonight.
Great.
So, but one thing that I wanted to do is I've been asking all the writers that we've been blessed to have on the show, I've been asking them about how do they feel about the fact that, the show is coming to an end. I know it's already technically over for you guys, but how does it feel that something that was such a part of your life is now, it's in a rearview mirror at this point?
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's probably a little bit easier for some of the people that worked on the show than everybody else, just because we've had a little bit longer to get used to it. We were kind of done last year for the most part, but no, it's sad. I mean, I really love working on the show. I think everybody in Los Angeles, especially all the writers and staff here, really love working on the show. And it's sad not to go into the office and see those people every day. It was I think a really rewarding experience for all of us, and we love characters and love seeing each other, and it's kind of sad now that it's gone.
One of the things that you often hear about this show, whether it is the crew and the cast that are in Calgary, or the writing staff that's here in Los Angeles, they say it's a family. With the show, do you feel the same way as a writer as well? Yeah,
I did. I mean, I only came in season 3, so I didn't probably have the time there as everybody else. Like the writers like Tom and Jamie were there since day one, basically, and a lot of the Calgary crew was there all 5 years. And so, and in Calgary too, like that's just hard. Like they're out there an hour away from the city every day for, 12, 14 hours a day, kind of all stuck together in this little Western town because we don't have any sound stages or anything like that. It was just all on the set. And so, and there's not a ton else to do there. So I think everybody, in Calgary got especially close. Here in LA, we had sort of a little bit more regular lives, but it was such a small enough office that we all became very good friends. So it felt like a family.
And you know what, interestingly enough, to kind of keep this all tied into the family aspect, built on relationships, we kind of touched on this in the pre-chat. Tell us about your time coming up on Hell on Wheels, as a writer, because earlier today, or tonight rather, on Twitter, you had a lot of kind words talking about your experience. So for the guests that we've had who didn't necessarily, get an opportunity to hear you the last time that you were on the show, tell us about your overall experience and what that did to you as an individual and as a writer.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, I like I said, I joined the show season 3. I was the writer's assistant. So, that's kind of the guy that sits in the room and takes notes. For the most part, you're sort of just supposed to be there and be quiet. And I've been doing that job, I don't know, maybe a year or 2 by that point. I'd worked for John Wirth before, worked on a couple other shows, but I was trying to be a writer. And this show ended up being kind of, I was on the show long enough and got enough of an opportunity from, John and everybody else that worked there that this sort of was my first, official writer job. Like I got sort of into the WGA on the back of this show for the most part. And that was, that's huge. It changed my life completely. And it couldn't have been in a better place, really. I mean, it was just such a supportive environment, and everybody was so kind of helpful. There was no office politicking or backstabbing, or it was just everybody just wanted to make the best show they could. And that was it. It was really, I don't know. I got all sentimental about it on Twitter today, but like it was such a great experience. And, and I've had other, I did other jobs. I had some sort of in between seasons of Hell on Wheels, and I've been working since then and stuff like that, but it was sort of a special family. It's sad to not really be a part of it anymore.
Oh, you're on mute, Yardley.
Oh, well, once again, I try to mute myself in between, in between conversations, but you actually, in a way, you got thrown into the fire because you actually wrote one of the most highly anticipated, and I know for me and Kente, one of the most special episodes of Hell on Wheels, the return of Elam Ferguson in Bearman. What was it like to pitch that idea, and then they're like, ready, set, go?
I mean, that whole thing was so crazy. I went into it a little bit on Twitter today, but like, yeah, I mean, like as sort of the job, I was still kind of the writer assistant on that thing, and we were dealing with, a very real problem, which happens sometimes, is we just didn't have as much access to Common as we wish we did, as we wanted, and so we spent a lot of time at the beginning of the season kind of trying to solve that problem and figure out what we were going to do, and sort of working around solutions. We had, from one of the writers, I think it was Mark Richard, at the time, we had sort of a direction of where we wanted to go for the story, kind of a very vague end game, but we were trying to figure out how to make it work with the seasons. And so, and that's the thing is, like, when you're, and this is, I guess, for anybody who may be listening that is interested in the politics of TV writing, when you're sort of at a low level position like that, like especially kind of the writer assistant, you sort of have to, figure out ways to make your influence felt without distracting or interrupting the process. And so you end up doing kind of a lot of pitches to writers, like in the bathroom or like in the hall or in the kitchen and stuff like that. And so Tom and I are super good friends now. He was sort of closest to age. I took his job when I came onto the show. He got promoted. And so, so I was sort of comfortable with him. I'd been thinking about this for a little bit, just sort of a way to do this that might be unique and interesting. And so I sort of pitched it to him in the hallway, one day. And then he, like, within the hour, we were back in the room, and he was just like pointed at me and was like, "Max, that was a thing." And then, everybody, I'm in the corner. So everybody, like, turns their head and looks at me, and I'm just like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, this is not going to go well." But I said it. And there was sort of like a stunned silence as everybody was like processing the, like, but what's the Cullen story? Like, what? And I had to be like, there is no Cullen story. There's just an Elam episode. That is it. And then everybody was like, wow, that's okay, great. And then it's a be careful what you wish for, because then John was like, yeah, okay, you have to figure that out now. But it was so, and it was so, it's such an insane episode, like, especially as like a first, most people's first episodes of TV are like, episode number 18 of a season of a show that's been running for 6-7 years. And, like, that's usually when you get in. And so to be able to sort of come in and do like such a distinctive thing. And I know that, like, it was polarizing, and I think we kind of always knew it was going to be polarizing, but like, we were all excited just about that. Like, I've never seen anything like that on TV before. It was just so weird. It was just like so fantastically strange. And to get the opportunity to kind of do that experiment. And, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was tremendously rewarding experience for me.
Yeah, it was an amazing episode. And Common, who's always, amazing on the show, but I thought it was some of his best work on the show.
Yeah, he was terrific. And that episode and then the one following it, he was incredible.
Yeah, he hadn't played the character for a while. Of course, he played him for 3 seasons, but it had been a while since he played him. And to come back, you didn't bring him back like easing him back into it. You had him basically
just threw him into the fire.
Right, and he was basically playing a different person.
So, yeah. And he was so great about it. Like, he, he talked through it with me, with John, with the director, Clark Johnson, who's amazing. And, we sort of sorted it out, and he was really excited about, sort of the opportunity. It was fun.
How awesome was that? You got Clark Johnson too to direct your first
episode? He directed the episode. I also wrote, I think it was the 4th episode last year, the one with the strike. Right. And Clark directed that one too, just like luck of the draw. Wow. And so I got to hang out with him a little bit on that too. It was a lot of fun.
Wow. He's a fantastic actor as well as a
great director. He's great. He can do and him being such a good actor makes him a really good director, because he can talk, like, he's very good at talking to the actors.
And you know what? Something that I noticed with the episodes that you write, you always seem to write episodes where a character is kind of transitioning into another stage of their life. And I really think that that's pretty cool because, you know, you had Elam kind of transitioning from the person that he was. I mean, of course, he transitioned into his demise into the next episode.
Didn't work out too well for him. But
you know, and kind of, you know, in this episode, we have people taking another step in their life, you know, with Cullen Bohannon and things like that. So is it kind of awesome writing for Cullen Bohannon now that he's kind of entered, you know, the final stage of his life on the show?
Yeah, I mean, he is very much. I mean, it's you know, the rest of the season's a lot of fun, and we had a lot of, you know, heated discussions about talking about all this stuff sort of in the room. But like, that is true. I mean, like, this sort of is the start of like Cullen after coming back from what happened last episode. Like, you know, he's very much in the danger zone, and so sort of getting to play the like slightly more unhinged. I think is fun for us to write. It's sort of a different color, and we'll sort of see where that goes from here. It gets exciting, and you know, and I think it was fun for Anson too. You know, getting to do some new stuff. He's physically changed. He's got that limp now, you know, and his sort of worldview is starting to look a little bit different.
Yeah. Now we have a caller area code 757. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, Shireen, Virginia.
How you doing, Shireen?
Hey.
Okay, how are you?
Excellent. So do you have a question for Max Hurwitz, the writer of tonight's episode?
Well, yeah. I'm a little bit behind on the show, unfortunately. But the show is so wonderful. I enjoy it so much. Actually had to catch up on a lot last year from the beginning, and it's so wonderful. I just was wondering... how do you, like, come up with these great characters, you know? And it's like no other show I've ever seen when it talks about history. It's kind of quirky in some ways, and the characters are a little cynical and just a little off, you know? And deranged. And I just love that part about the show. And Cullen's character is also awesome, too. And I just want to know what goes to the minds of the writers as they're writing it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our work was sort of done by the time we got there. I mean, the Gatons wrote like this amazing pilot, and so a lot of the groundwork and sort of the tone and sort of the strangeness of a lot of the characters, like especially sort of as it relates to the Swede and whatnot, you know, they kind of laid the groundwork for. And then so for the rest of us trying to pick it up, I mean, we do a lot of research, and sometimes we use it and sometimes we don't, but it usually gives us like nuggets. You know, like Shay, the Johnny Shay character, is based on a person, you know, in real life. Stagecoach Mary is a real person effectively. We always change some things to sort of suit our needs, but like the spark of a lot of the new characters is always something. You know, there's generally a real person behind that. Like Eva is, you know, there's Olive Oatman, sort of from history. That's kind of the basis for her. So, you know, that's sort of where we start, and then it's just, you know, trying to figure out how to make the most interesting people we can to interact with kind of our core group of guys and women.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching.
Okay, I got to catch up, though.
All right, we'll catch up.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Hey, something that I can actually want to piggyback on off of what she was saying. I think one of the things that makes this show so awesome and the characters so interesting is the fact that you're writing characters that are flawed and aren't a bunch of, you know, Mary Sues and everything goes right for people. You know, it's just the fact that it's more relatable when you know that people are flawed and there are different levels to everyone. We had actually made the case long ago, Kente and I, was the fact that you can take so many of these characters like Thor Gunderson and Cullen Bohannon, and you can almost switch those characters because they both do and have done bad things. And some characters people like a little bit more than others, and they kind of ignore that they're just as bad as the characters that they hate. And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate that you guys bring to us as fans. When you can have a debate about if the guy who's supposed to be good or the anti-hero, when you can say that, hey, he's just as bad in certain ways as Thor Gunnarsson, I think that that's good, and I think it's healthy, and it sparks a lot of debates in the fan base. So I definitely have to give you guys props for actually not making things so black and white on the show. It's just a lot of shades of gray.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, that was always our philosophy from the get-go, is just like, everybody's our kind of idea is like all the characters are just doing the best they can. And especially as relates to like the Swede and Cullen, like we had endless debates about this, which is, and Jamie sort of always pushed for this notion. One of the writers, Jamie O'Brien, is just like, there's a version of the show where the Swede is the hero, like, where he is the good guy, and, like and especially like in the first season, like he's not wrong. Like he's like trying to catch Cullen, who, didn't exactly murder Johnson, but like, would have, had things gone different. Like he's just doing his job. But, sort of Cullen gets to be the hero, because we like him better. And so sort of getting to kind of play with that dynamic is exciting. And I think Tom and John did a good job of that sort of at the big Sweet episode at the top of this half season, is sort of just trying to have those guys talk out, the real differences between them and how many there are.
Yeah, I just want to once again remind people that if you want to call in, you can do so. The number is 323-522-4601. Once again, I'll say it a little slower, 323-522-4601. And if you want to see us, you can come to blab.im and you can log in via your Twitter account, and you can see us that way as well. And of course, go to indyradio.org, indyradio.org. Okay, so we're going to be talking a lot about this episode tonight because first of all, nitroglycerin. You could use this episode as a PSA to not touch it if you don't know what the hell you're doing, because man, that was
it's pretty dangerous stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, talk about did you know a lot about it? Did you have to do much research?
We did. We didn't know that much about it going in. I don't think anybody did. And it was the research part was interesting too, because it's not just researching like information about nitroglycerin. It's like information about what they knew about nitroglycerin in 1868, which is very different than what we know about nitroglycerin now. Yeah, right. And so, it's sort of it's not like, and the thing, like for me, the initial thing I learned that I thought was interesting is like, it's not TNT. Like that's actually sort of TNT was made because nitroglycerin was unstable and dangerous. So they sort of figured out they could pack it with sawdust and sort of stabilize it a little bit. And then that became kind of the easy to use, cartoon railroad TNT. But sort of back in this stage when they were actually working with it, it was like this liquid goop that you poured in a little tin can and you just hoped it didn't blow up. That was it. And that's what they did. They really did that on the Central Pacific, and they lost a lot of people, and they just didn't care.
Hey, and you know what? You just added something to the Urban Dictionary, because apparently dangerous is the new code word for sex.
Yes, there is a decent amount of sex in this episode. But it all works metaphorically together, I suppose.
Yeah, Max, you're blowing people up and you're getting people into bed.
Action packed, man.
I know, man. You pack a punch with your episodes. And it's good that it wasn't just Cullen getting it in this episode. That Durant, I can't remember the last time Durant had a good time on set.
Yeah, it's actually a funny story about that. That little scene actually was written by Jamie O'Brien originally for the previous episode. And when we were cutting everything together, that episode was sort of running a little long. And this episode was not. I mean, it wasn't short, but it was fine. And we sort of all sat down and we reevaluated, and we figured out like that actually kind of would probably work better, sliding it over one. So that little scene was that wonderfully written scene. I cannot take credit for. That was Jamie O'Brien.
Okay, now let me ask you this question then: did Durant want to marry her before he had sex? Because the way it looked like it was so good. He was like, "Let me marry you." so was it that her stuff was so good? He was like, "I got to put a ring on this."
Sunshine.
I cannot definitively answer that question. All I can say is like they've had a nice rapport for a couple seasons now, I think.
And that was the icing on the cake, right? He was just like, "Oh man, isn't this good? Man, what am I?" He was like, it looked like he was like seriously like rethinking his whole life.
I mean, he probably is rethinking his whole life. I mean, this is like everybody. He's like kind of looking down the barrel of the end of the railroad and trying to figure out what comes after this.
And it definitely has to be fun writing for those two characters. Those are two of the most interesting characters on the show, and kind of seeing them together was a real treat tonight.
Oh yeah, I mean they're the best. I mean, Colm is hilarious, and Chella, who plays Maggie, is just a terrific person. And yeah, they're a lot of fun. They are game for whatever.
Mm-hmm. Now we have another caller area code 931. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hi guys, it's Candy Sue from Tennessee.
Oh hey.
Hey there.
Hey. Hello, how are y'all doing?
Excellent.
Great.
Well, I just had a call, and I had thought when I saw the name Max online, I thought, well, I don't know anything about Max. I probably won't listen tonight because I don't know anything about him. But
That's
this
fair.
was a genius episode.
Oh, thank you so much.
It is so, I mean, I'm a diagnostician. I work on a team that gives lots of tests and diagnose people. So all of these years I've been trying to diagnose Cullen. And you kind of diagnosed him tonight. Wow.
So what'd you discover?
Well, I mean, we know he's got the PSTD, and and I know it's his childhood stuff, but this episode is so in your face of what a mess he is. There's no, it's because of the women don't love him enough, or somebody's not good enough for him. He is such an adrenaline junkie, and it's all about the railroad and his ego, and he just had no regard for his own safety or for May's safety, for his friend. He's just so single-minded. And I think it goes back to his childhood. He lost his mama young, and it got him off track, and he feels low self-esteem and unlovable. But wow,
yeah, that explosion for Cullen was kind of orgasmic to him. I mean, the way the look in his eyes, and then we know what happened left. What happened next? So yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that he was nearly blown up in the tunnel. And he was like, "Oh, May, are you alive?" But 5 minutes later, he's willing to risk her life to have sex on the table with the nitroglycerin. That is such an addict behavior.
Yeah,
it's typical. For
that's.
Men.
I mean, that's how we talk about it. We talked about it a lot too, sort of in the construction. Very much kind of an addict sort of thing.
And please, people, don't do that at home.
Yeah, I don't recommend that at all.
And Candy, to kind of follow up on a conversation that we were having online, where you were talking about the thing as far as May being a shock to you. What did you get out of this episode as they kind of further those characters' relationships? One of the things that we pointed out last week was that May has a lot more in common with Cullen than a lot of other women that have been on the show. She came from war. Cullen fought in the in a war as well. They both lost people who they loved. They both work on the railroad. It seems like May has more skin in the game than some of the other women that Cullen has been with. She's pretty much a ride or die chick. I commented on Twitter, you'd never see Naomi or Lily Bell in that mine messing with nitroglycerin, but May was there. So What are your feelings about that relationship after tonight?
Well, now again, I'm going back to diagnosing Cullen. I think he has, and Max can talk about this more. I'll shut up and let him talk. But I think his self-esteem is so poor that he really can't, at this point, handle a woman who would challenge him at all emotionally or intellectually. And I don't get, I'm getting the way that it's sort of a tie with the railroad, but May is so willing to do whatever he says, just like she, I guess you can take it, she's brave, and she went up there and held that thing while he hammered with the nitroglycerin. But I turned it to that he's willing to let her do that without any regard to her safety. So, he kind of needs a woman who just goes along with the Cullen plan right now. So, I don't know where that goes for him, but that's kind of sad for me.
It is sad, the way you put it.
I have dated Cullens and been chewed up and spit out by Cullens, so I kind of know the deal. I hope I've broken that pattern. I have been May, maybe, whatever you say. And there's not enough you can do with them. You can't follow them enough. You can't, eventually even May's not going to be enough for Cullen unless he straightens up.
So you said you've been May before.
Yes, I have kind of been a May. But in a position of, yes, I've dated this messed up guy, and I'm going to help him, and I'm going to support him, and I'll be there, and whatever you need, baby. And it's, my daddy used to say, of course I'm from the South, it's like pouring sand down the rat hole. There's not enough sand.
Well, you can be May, just don't be Fong.
I don't want to be either one of them. I'm going to be Naomi. I'm going back to Salt Lake where it's safe.
It's much safer there.
Yeah, but I just want to say back, Genius episode, I think it is probably one of the top 3 episodes. And I'm one of the obsessed people.
Thank you.
So, just one of those that kind of transitions us, sort of. But, and you're going to catch a lot of flack. You're going to have a lot of Cullen haters out there. Because last week I was one of the Cullen haters. But this either shows, I think this is kind of shows us he is at so, every year I'm like, well, now he's at rock bottom. But if there is someplace more dark and awful he can go, I can't imagine. Unless he's drinking the nitroglycerin.
Yeah. It's pretty, how low can you go is the question as we sort of head to the end here.
For 6 years I've been saying, well, he's at bottom. I thought he was at bottom when Doc Whitehead died. I thought he was at bottom when Lily died. I thought he was at bottom when Ruth died. I don't know where bottom is for Cullen, but if y'all write him out of this, y'all are geniuses. But
thank you. There's a writer saying the hero of the story is the one who suffers.
I'm following you on Twitter now. If you write anything else, please tweet it. I will be sure and watch.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Real quick before we introduce our next caller, she mentioned when Ruth dying, and I'm still mad at you guys for that.
That was hard.
Haven't you seen Good, the Bad, the Ugly? He could have shot the rope. He could have.
Oh man! Could have done lots of things. He didn't do any of them.
Joseph could have shot an arrow.
Y'all let Doodlebug die though. That's wrong. So wrong, man.
Man. No, that was rough.
The church lady too. There ain't no more religion on Hell on Wheels. So that's cold.
That's true. That's all gone now.
All right, so that's so funny. Y'all killed a kid before that, and we're not even no, but shout out to Dayton. All right, so our next caller, area code 512. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, are y'all talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, this is Tammy from Texas.
Hey, Tammy.
Hey, how you doing,
Tammy?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Pretty good.
Great.
Well, I was just calling to say I thought this was a genius episode. It really was. Last week I was left feeling very frustrated because I want to respect Cullen. And I just couldn't respect him for walking away from his baby. I could respect him. I mean, I didn't care about him walking away from Naomi, but walking away from William, it just kind of left me frustrated. And this episode just really brought home to me where his head's at. I mean, he is so far out there. I don't think he's going to come back. But I did want to tell the writers that I really appreciate them respecting the fans enough to believe that we were going to get it. The Dynamite sex scene, what they were trying to tell us, you know, where his head was, they just didn't care, either of them. They are flirting with the devil now. They're way out there. They're not.
Yep.
They're not about life anymore. They're just about messing with the devil's head, you know. And it was really, really a genius episode. The way they turned me around, anyway, on the whole deal. I mean, now I just feel sorry for him.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's yeah, I mean that's that was our hope. You know, like we're trying to sort of tell Cullen's story and sort of where he is and how he's feeling, kind of the best we can. And you know, hopefully there'll be some sort of more clarity, even still as the series goes forward. So.
Oh well, it was. I mean, y'all just really drove it home tonight. I mean, I just went, oh wow. I'm worried about respecting him, and it is so beyond that. He is in such a bad place, you know.
Yeah.
So I got it, you know. If that gives y'all any gratification, one of your fans got it.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're still with us.
Yeah, it was a beautiful episode. Real well done. I really enjoyed it.
What else stuck out to you? What else stuck out to you in the episode?
What else? What?
What else stuck out to you in the episode? We know that.
Oh well,
Cullen,
the last episode, when he was coming back to town and he's coming by Strobridge, and Strobridge is playing on the seesaw with his son, and I was, see, you could do that, you know. And, of course, this episode just really brought that full force. There was Strobridge, you know, putting family first, and there's Cullen literally, you know, whatting with dynamite. And, you know, it just was real clear what he was about now. He's just, that war broke him, man. He just has he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to live.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, you can make an argument that just about every character on the show was affected by the war. That they all, you know, a lot of their issues or demons or whatever is war related. The Swede, you know, he's who he is or who he was due to his experiences in Andersonville. So, you know.
Yeah, they did. They did that with the first episode of this year with him, you know, and now they're really doing it with Cullen. They're really making me see.
Mm-hmm. You can also make a point that Cullen is dealing with what's in front of him right now. And even though that might be a little confusing, sometimes that's what you've got to do.
Well, yeah, but I think it's running a little deeper. I think I said on Twitter, I said he and May are like Thelma and Louise now driving towards the cliff. You know, they're just...
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's true. I mean, sometimes when you're hurting, like the easiest thing to do is to just sort of focus on the 2 feet in front of you, sort of damn the cliff in the distance.
Yeah, they they stepped on the gas pedal and that's it. You know, they're playing with dynamite, you know, and
I don't
That they are.
know where it's going, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere good. But that's all right, you know. It's a wonderful story. However it ends, it's a wonderful story.
Well, thank you so much for calling in.
Sure.
And
thanks for letting me talk. Bye-bye.
And Tuesday we're having Phil Burke on the show as well, so check it out. All right.
Phil is a lot more entertaining than I am, so you should definitely check that out.
Max, you give us insights that that we can't get, because we love to talk to the writers and directors, because you can tell us, basically, why the meal was cooked the way that it was.
Yeah, well, sometimes those answers are sometimes satisfying, sometimes not so much.
But let me ask you this: the show's a Western, right? And when you think of Westerns, you think of course, horses and you think of saloons and money, some plot to get some money or something like that. But then you also think of gunplay, and I was wondering, during your time in the writers' room, was there ever any thought that, we need to, get some, traditional Western action in episodes, or you just, if it comes, it comes, organically? I mean, was that a push to get the Western action into it?
Let's see. For the most part, our sort of motto was letting things kind of happen organically. That said, there were definitely some times where, we'd sort of look at the season or the next, few episodes coming up and just feel like there wasn't enough kind of Western oomph. And so we'd always look for ways to sort of get some of that stuff in there, to sort of see if it fit. But we tried pretty hard not to ever force it. If there was sort of a situation that it just didn't feel appropriate, we wouldn't try to jam it in there just to jam it in there. But, we were definitely aware of it. And we there were different camps in the writer's room that sort of had different feelings towards, how much of that we needed in any given episode or how important that was. But I feel like a lot of our most successful episodes have been, I guess I'll say it this way, is that one of the things I think we have going for us is that that expectation exists in the world. And so I think a lot of our kind of really successful episodes have been the ones where we sort of use that expectation and then end up kind of going a different way. Kind of like you were talking about, sort of the 13 Steps episode with Ruth. There's a big Western expectation, about what's going to happen sort of in that scene, that we kind of deliberately left unfulfilled there. And I think, that can be pretty effective sometimes.
Yeah, that's one of our least favorite kills on the show.
Max, do you have a particular character that you feel more strongly about than others?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love everybody. I was often drawn to kind of the more and it shows in my episodes sometimes. I ended up with the episodes that are sort of Stagecoach Mary, heavy, if she's in there at all. And then the other in the writer's room, I was the world's biggest Martin Delaney advocate. I was a big Martin Delaney fan, and everybody else was probably a little bit less enthusiastic about him. And so I always kind of looked for ways to work him in fun ways.
Wait a minute, Max, never be an advocate for me because you killed him in the episode. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, all right, but I mean, that. It sort of came from that. I mean, he was enough of we sort of wanted to give him a kind of a bigger out, if he was going to, that's the thing is, you love it, especially on our show, you love somebody if you think of a, fun way for them to get whacked. If they're not that interesting, then they sort of just fade away and that's it. But that was so my kind of Martin Delaney, my persistent Martin Delaney advocacy, is how we ended up with in this episode, one of my favorite sort of comedy scenes I ever wrote in this episode, which was Delaney and Louise in the bar together, that sort of stuff. I was always kind of pushing for seeing new sides of minor characters, I guess, just because, we don't always have that much time to spend time with them. And so kind of any way we can do some fun stuff with them was interesting. And Jen Farron and Dave Wilson Barnes, who plays Delaney, were like just so like it was kind of like the best, I feel like, and they're great actors, but like that scene for me was like I was there on set that day. That was just like the most fun I think I probably had, sort of just that sort of weird drinking scene that they had together.
And what's up with on the show is when people get told they should go home, and when they decide not to, they get whacked. Lily Bell got told to go home. She didn't. She got whacked. And now Delaney gets told to go home, and he gets whacked. So I guess there's a moral to that story. Take your ass home.
Yeah, just go home. It's not worth standing in the construction zone,
Oh, jeez, yes. Yeah, it was good to see Stagecoach Mary in this episode, who, her character is such a cool character, so every time you see her on the show, she always has a memorable scene. And, we still love the scene where she punches Johnny Shea. That's, one of the best scenes in Hell on Wheels.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And he had it coming. He really
he always has it coming.
Yeah, he needed that. So, but I like, though, you went Johnny Shea cray in this episode, man. Cause
it was Johnny Shea unleashed on this one.
He went full Johnny Shea.
We'll see some more of that sort of as the season goes on. And that's obviously going to have a pretty big effect on the story.
And actually, Kente, let me ask you: were you expecting for that? What was that, Max? It was a token, a game token that Stagecoach showed Chang.
It was, if you guys recall, all the way back I believe it was episode 4, which was the last episode of the season that I wrote. At the very end of that episode, Stagecoach Mary comes across all those massacred dudes that Chang had killed, and it was earlier in that episode, you sort of saw they were passing around a little bag, and they took out those little token things.
Okay.
And then she found one of those tokens on the dead bodies, and so she brings it back to Chang to sort of collect a bounty.
Let me ask you a question about that. When you wrote that scene in episode 4, did you know that it was going to get tied in later, or did you just did it yourself because you wrote a later episode?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think in episode 4 we had the plan to use it in that specific way. But we did sort of have the general plan that storyline was going to matter again later in some capacity. And because, I mean, and that was like, you will notice, it's just I think it's a human nature thing. And I notice it because I know who, I pay a lot of attention to who writes what episodes in TV, but like oftentimes sort of writers will sort of backtrack to stuff that they wrote in previous episodes just because they're really familiar with it.
Right.
And they kind of know how to use it and further that story kind of in new, interesting ways. And there were a lot of, I ended up sort of writing a lot of kinds of scenes on the show, like just for whatever reason, I found myself most interested in those. Like this was now the second episode in a row where I wrote like something very strange happening at the whorehouse, episode. So, it's just that stuff just sort of happens.
We're going to get to that, but I want to ask you one more question about that is, if you hadn't wrote another episode in the season, would you have nudged like one of the writers like, hey, pay off that little scene from episode 4?
Yeah, I mean, we sit down and we, it's called breaking, which is we sort of figure out all the stories together as a group in the room. And so we're all chipping in on everything in that degree. And so if anybody sort of sees, things to tie in or patterns or anything like that, everybody speaks up.
Now, there was a moment, the moment that you just talked about in the whorehouse. And I kind of was a little... I didn't quite get what the heck he was doing because I was being distracted at the time. But, first of all, that guy is weird.
Super weird, yeah.
So, I didn't quite get what he was doing to the girl. He was checking her hair? What was he doing?
Was measuring her head is what he was doing.
For what?
So Bendix, this goes way back. You got to have deep Hell on Wheels knowledge, but Bendix is a practitioner of phrenology, which is sort of this old way they used to think. it's sort of how they used to measure intelligence, and actually it was used primarily for the purposes of racism. But it was like you'd measure someone's head, and that would sort of tell you like characteristics about them because of like how their brain was shaped and things like that. And so, lost Yardley.
No, he's just refreshing.
And so that's so he's sort of a phrenology practitioner, and so that was we just I can't even remember who it was. I think it was originally Mickey Johnson, who co-wrote I think next week's episode. She was one of our new writers this year. Just thought it like we're like, what could Bendix be doing that's more interesting than just having sex in the whorehouse? And so we sort of came to that, which was it's just weird. He's just a weird guy.
Very weird guy. It's not as interesting as sex in a whorehouse, but it's definitely weird than sex in a whorehouse. And I love
it's less expected, I guess,
right. And very expensive for the time as well because
it got pricey.
Yeah, so I bet he wished he was having sex instead of what he was paying for.
I mean, that's the question is because he easily could have been, but he wasn't.
Right. So I imagine the horse. There's gonna be more to the horse as this goes on.
There will be more to the horse. That is a slow burn story.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But we will see more horse.
All right. So look, we don't deal in spoilers, but what can we expect from these last episodes from your point of view?
Yeah, you guys are going to get me in trouble. Let's see, what can I say?
All
I will say is that I think sort of this is actually, I think, sort of one of the things I tweeted today, too. Like, this was sort of the top of the roller coaster episode. Like, we sort of clicked all the way to the top. And the remaining episodes are kind of very natural outgrowths and consequences of the stuff that we set up, kind of in these 3 episodes, but also very much kind of in the last or the first half season, what aired last year. And so it's a lot of, there'll be a lot of change very quickly. I guess I can say that.
Nice. Looking forward to that. All right. So, before we say goodnight, now, we were talking a little bit earlier about a new job, and you mentioned the Unabomber. So
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very aware of the Ted Kaczynski, I believe the fellow's name is.
That is his name.
And I believe he was turned in by his brother.
Also true.
Right. I remember that very well. I was scared
to
go to the mailbox.
Also kind of true, I will say.
I was scared to go to my mailbox during that period. So I'm kidding, I wasn't. But so tell us about this new project, or what you can tell us about your new project.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm working on a mini series on Discovery Channel. It's one of their first kind of scripted things, and it's kind of a true-ish. It's very much based in research, but we've taken a few liberties. And it's about kind of the hunt for the Unabomber. And so it's kind of about the FBI investigation that really kind of led to his capture. And it's called Manifesto. I have no idea when it's going to air. We're just writing it now. We don't even have a cast or anything quite yet. But yeah, it's great. I've been there like 3 weeks, so it's pretty new.
Oh, okay. How many episodes? How many episodes?
Just 8 episodes. Oh. 8-episode miniseries.
And it's done, right? It's done after that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some talk about ways to sort of expand it from there, which I probably aren't allowed to really talk about. Right. But I think right now, kind of this story, the Unabomber story, is just this 8-episode chunk.
Oh, wow, that's good. It was a great story, and there's a lot there for it.
Yeah, there is. And it's sort of like the... I don't know if you guys saw the OJ show on FX, but there's a lot of sort of elements like that where it's like, yeah, you kind of know the story, but there's like a lot of stuff that you didn't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to that. I love historical stuff and true crime So, do you have any other projects, any movies or any personal stuff?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, I got a movie I wrote is in post-production right now. Nice. I don't know when or if it's even. I assume it'll come out. I don't know when and what capacity. Mm-hmm. It's called The Titan. It's sort of a sci-fi horror movie, kind of, actually. Nice. Very different than Hell on Wheels or the Manifesto show, for that matter, too. Mm-hmm. So that's great. That stars Taylor Schilling from Orange is the New Black, mm-hmm. and Sam Worthington, the Avatar guy, and Tom Wilkinson.
Nice.
Yeah, it's hopefully good. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a cut yet. I've been told there'll be one soon. But it's amazing that it got made. Even that is incredible. And then, I don't know. I got a few other things coming up that the deals haven't closed, so I probably can't really talk about. But I've definitely been keeping busy. Missing Hell on Wheels, but I got some work.
Well,
I wrote a thing with Tom Brady.
Oh, okay.
Which I can't really talk about either. But maybe that's a thing. I don't know. We since Hell on Wheels went down, we've been hanging out and looking for stuff to work on together. So it should be fun.
That's cool that you guys are not just waiting for the phone to call. That you guys are out there making it happen.
Yeah, I mean, have to some degree. We're not important enough for people to call us.
Oh, no, it's coming. It's coming. Yardley's having technical issues, so I'm going to close out the show. I want you to tell people, how can people get you in social media and such?
Oh, yeah. I only have Twitter, so just Twitter. It's X, as in xylophone, HURWITZ, as in my last name. I guess it's at those things, because it's Twitter. I don't know how Twitter works. But that's it. That's all I got. I don't have a Facebook. I guess I have an Instagram, but it's private and it's just pictures of my cats, and so I don't bother trying to contact me there. Right. If you really want me, just I'm on the Twitter machine.
All right, and you can follow Yardley at militant_marker, and you can follow me at KenteF. And just as a reminder, this Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, we'll be joined by actor Phil Burke, who plays Mickey McGinnis. And so make sure you guys come out and check that out. And we will be back next week for the next episode, which I'm trying to remember what the name of that episode is.
I think it's called Gambit.
Gambit, right? Like the X-Men.
Like the X-Men. I don't think the X-Men is in the episode. Last I checked.
That's the Tim Southman directed episode?
Yes, it is. That's correct.
Because he'll be on our show then this Saturday.
That's great. I've actually never met Tim, but I hear he's great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to him, and we're gonna go deep into that episode, and and help finish off these final episodes. I think we have 4 left.
4 left.
4 left, so that's going to be really cool. Just having that, it's going to be bittersweet, as we've been saying. So. Yeah, it will. Hopefully you guys enjoy them. We definitely enjoyed making them. I think you'll find them action-packed and satisfying, I hope. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, that closes this episode, and we will catch you on... Wait, hold on a minute. We'll let
hey, of course I'm back when we're winding down. But,
dude.
Thanks, Max, for coming on. It's such a pleasure, man.
Of course. Thank you guys so much. I can't really say we anymore because we're all scattered to the wind, but like the writers and the crew and cast and stuff love your guys' show. We're so glad you do it, giving sort of everybody an opportunity. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
And also we got when you have your other projects, we have another show called the Hollywood Edition. Gonna have you on to talk about some of your other work.
Sure. Hit me up. I'm happy to chat.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. We'll catch you on Tuesday.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, brother.
All right.